Taro Hirai was born in Nambari, Japan in 1894. Studying economics at Waseda University, he graduated in 1916, working among others as a newspaper editor and soba peddler. Before 1923, according to James B. Harris, Japanese literature, though it greatly enjoyed mystery fiction, had no native supply of their own, relying on translations of American and British writers or of centuries-old compendiums of popularized retellings of court cases, originally imported from China. Only from the 1660s do we have examples of native-produced works of this type, the most famous of the period being Saikaku Ihara's Honsho and Hiji, or Records of Trials Held Beneath a Cherry Tree from 1689. However, in 1923, Taro Hirai submitted his story The 2-Sen Copper Coin to the Shinseinen magazine, the story being immediately snatched up, and Taro Hirai encouraged to write more, choosing for himself as pen name Edogawa Rampo, which comes from a somewhat fudged Japanese pronunciation of Edgar Allan Poe. In 1947, Rampo founded the Detective Authors Club, which was later renamed to Mystery Writers Japan and is still active today. Rampo died from cerebral hemorrhage at his home in 1965, after having written a total of 20-plus full-length book for adult audiences, 10 full-length book for juvenile readers, and at least 6 volumes of essays devoted to the mystery story. The current volume, Japanese Tales of Mystery and Imagination, which stretches the link between Poe and Rampo to breaking point given its title, was a project that Rampo and translator James B. Harris spent 5 years working on, since Rampo could not write in English and Harris could not write in Japanese, which admittedly makes one wonder if it would not have been easier to teach Rampo how to write with the Roman alphabet, since he could already speak English, and thus if it wouldn't have made the process much quicker, but that's just me. After poring together over every new sentence and the exact translation of every line in every paragraph, the book was published by Tuttle in 1956. The book overall, in my opinion, is rather unbalanced. There are very good weird stories here, but half of the contents are devoted to mystery tales, which admittedly is what Rampo is most famous for, and I'm not exactly a fan of. However, you have stories here which aren't really very good when compared to the non-mystery stories in the same collection. For example, The Twins is not very exciting, since all it is the story of a man who murders his twin brother and uses what he thinks are his fingerprints to be able to commit crimes and get away with them, but it turns out they were his fingerprints all along. The Red Chamber is about a man who pretends to get shot just so he can take the piss out of a bunch of fans of mystery stories. And what can one say about the potential thrill of The Psychological Test, which, for about 30 pages, we have the murder of an old woman being discovered through a session of random word association tests. On the other hand, there are these really great stories to consider. For example, The Human Chair concerns a woman finding a note from a man who confesses his love for her and wants to hide and live inside her chair so he can be near her at all times. The Caterpillar narrates how a man who dared lose all his limbs and ability to speak in the war is tortured by his wife until she takes even the last thing that he has in all that in any way connects him to the real world. The Hell of Mirrors recounts the tragic fate of a man driven insane after spending a night inside a circular mirror. And The Traveller with the Pasted Rack Picture has a man who recounts the story of his brother who fell in love with a woman at first sight on seeing her from a telescope before the tower from which they looked down with using said telescope was destroyed in an earthquake. But when his brother discovered that the woman was only a realistic picture hung up on a temple wall, he still had every intention to join her and be her lover. There have been several more books of Rampo's published in English since the 1950s, although some of them have seemed to be more mystery-oriented, such as The Fiend with 20 Faces or the early cases of Akechi Kogoro. I am still very much looking forward to one day reading his strange tale of Panorama Island.